The age-old conflict between the Assassins and Templars continue in Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed 3. In this chapter, Desmond relives the memories of the new ancestor, setting the American Revolution as the historical backdrop. Does this title take the franchise on a fresh new journey, or has it taken too many hidden blades to the face?
Hey, welcome back to the GamerNerdz, everyone. This is Dinx. I got my boy Voyce here. We're reviewing Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed 3, which I think is the fifth entry in well, the title says 3.
It's the fifth console title.
So we're throwing back into the story of Desmond Miles, his fight against the Templars as the assassin, and obviously, as with other Assassin's Creed games, Desmond takes the role of another ancestor of his. This time, this game takes place during the American Revolution.
One thing I really liked about the Assassin's Creed 3 story is that there are a lot of things that happen, especially right off the bat, that I don't think anyone saw coming.
Nope.
When you start playing the game, you don't actually play as Connor immediately, who's the main character. In fact, you don't play with him for a good
3 or 4 sequences well into the game story.
The story in those sections were actually pretty damn interesting. They built up to Connor.
I was very intrigued by this new character. He does reveal a lot of the backstory leading up to Connor's reveal in the game. The problem I had with this character, who we will not spoil, is the way Connor learns about him is so casual and off the cuff. So it turns out this person has a strong relation to Connor, but it just seems Connor is so casual to realize, oh, yeah, sure. I thought Ubisoft lost a lot of steam in that reveal, and it kind of just pushed it to the side.
I really thought that there'd be more of an impact, and there's none. It's just kind of like, okay, that's
absolutely none at all.
That's cool. The backdrop being the American Revolution really allowed for the story to be a little bit more relatable to people in today's world.
His voice was alive during the 17th century, and he felt the pain of the Sons of Liberty and all that.
No, you do, because it's something that's pretty recent in American history. Granted, it's a few hundred years old, but compared to previous games that took place in other time eras that are way long past, this one, there are a lot of political themes, a lot of subjects that still occur today, so it kind of hit home.
Yeah, we hate the Tea Parties now, we hate the Tea Parties then. And honestly, I think to your point, setting in the American Revolution obviously sets some sort of realism in the Assassin's Creed world. My problem is that Connor's story is just shoot in. For example, Paul Revere, he ran through the city of Concord or Lexington, I forgot which, to warn the locals about the British. Now, let's create a whole new sequence where Connor is the guy that helps Paul Revere do that. Or during the Boston Tea Party, where the Sons of Liberty actually threw Boston tea in protest of the British. Well, let's make Connor do that instead. My problem with Assassin's Creed 3 story is that there's all this stuff going on. You have Desmond's story happening in the background. I played the first 10 or so sequences and I kind of forgot what was happening. Am I helping the Americans stop the British, or am I helping Connor find something? Am I helping Desmond?
I'm gonna completely disagree with you. I like that aspect. I like the fact that you throw in the Assassins and you throw in the Templars into this timepiece, and it really makes you feel like, well, what if they were present, and what if they really did affect the outcome?
But you already know the outcome. All that Ubisoft did was take a known historical event, stick their assassins in it, and the result was the same. Albeit you'll stab someone with a bayonet or puncture their face with your hidden blades, but I don't know.
The American Revolution played a backdrop. I do agree with you that during some parts of the game, it really took precedence and you almost forgot what Connor was doing. Yes, I agree with that, but especially towards the end of the game, it becomes more personal. Connor goes through a lot of things, and I really like the fact this was a more emotional storyline. I really like it when developers take the time to make a story more emotional, make you feel more engaged, and you sympathize with Connor, everything he goes through, his plight.
I don't agree at all. There was no epic set piece or anything. There's just too much going on, and I just felt Connor was just pushed in.
Disagreed. In this game, they really take the time to make the line that blurs the Assassins and the Templar more of a gray line. Before, it was really just Templars are evil, the Assassins are good. It was black and white. They make you question that. They make you wonder, well, are the Assassins necessarily right? Maybe the Templars are right in their objectives. And in fact, there's a certain sequence, it really dives further into that, and I think that's when the game really comes alive. Assassin's Creed 3, I love the storyline. I love the fact it was more emotional.
Honestly, the best Assassin's Creed game I've played which has a good story is Liberations for the Vita. It's the only redeeming factor. That particular assassin has a genuine story that's not just shoved into some random historical event. Evelyn in Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation actually has someone you can connect to. The story is much more involved. It's actually risque with the whole slave trade stuff. But AC3 story, I just didn't care. And Connor is just like every other assassin. Go to one place, do what this guy says, go to another place, and end of the game.
It comes to this epic conclusion at the end, something that we've been waiting for, and in fact, it will kind of, it'll shock you. It will shock you at the end. Connor's storyline really connected more. I felt like I could relate to Connor.
How are you relating to an Iroquois in the 17th century?
You could relate.
That doesn't exist.
You could relate. Assassin's Creed fans are gonna hate you. Whatever. ever.
No, they're gonna agree with you.
Let's get into the gameplay. I was actually really surprised that Ubisoft took the time to reinvent the wheel in the sense the combat and the free running aspect. All the animations, I use the word visceral a lot, but it's just more visceral. The combat is more in your face. Connor takes a bayonet and stabs two people at the same time. The finishers are just insane. When you're fighting in Assassin's Creed 3, you don't feel like you're always repeating the same things.
That you're completely wrong. The fighting system is almost the same as previous versions. You were surrounded by a bunch of guards who are clearly not prepared to fight you. One person attacks, you counter, you kill them brutally. NPCs around you, oh, there's a slaughter going here, they don't care. It is so repetitive. Yes, you can take different weapons, you can use the rope darts now or smoke bombs, but why would you? Because honestly, I went through the game with the hidden blades, no problem.
You can run through the game with just the hidden blades. You don't really need anything else, but everything else just kind of makes it more fun. Like when using the tomahawk, different weapons do different things. If you counter multiple enemies at the same time, it triggers this really cool fight sequence. If there's an enemy firing squad, you can actually take one of the enemies and use them as a shield.
Or you know what, you can get shot because it does no damage, run up and stab them in the neck anyways. Maybe it's not enough challenge or I'm playing it the wrong way because I ran through the game.
It's not a hard game, honestly. Ubisoft streamlined a lot of the unnecessary things about the previous games I didn't necessarily like, and it just made it more refined.
The fighting is probably the least interesting part. The thing that separates Assassin's Creed, the series in general, from other games is the free running. This game is set in the late 1700s. You don't have very tall skyscrapers. The cool thing about this is running through the forest. Probably the best part of the game for me anyways. There are huge areas, frontier, running through Boston, gracefully jumping from rooftop to rooftop. Yes, it's been done in previous AC games, but for some reason I found it's just much more involved and I actually enjoyed it more in this particular title.
Because Ubisoft refined all the animations. If you rinse over certain things, he'll leap over different ways. You can leap into someone's apartment and jump out the other side. Granted, I didn't like the fact that that kind of triggers a sequence you can't really control, but I thought it was cool. Really cool way to evade guards. When you're climbing trees, you can climb higher. If you meet an obstacle in front of you, the way Connor pushes on the side of them, it's really well done. All that stuff really just makes the free running and the combat more visceral and more just enjoyable.
During a mission, you have separate challenges to increase your overall synchronization. Some of them are very challenging, some of them are very straightforward. The fighting in Assassin's Creed in general, it doesn't do anything for me anymore.
I still enjoyed it. I like what Ubisoft did here. The optional objectives in the Assassin's Creed missions, even in the previous games, have always been a hit or miss for me. Granted, I like the fact that you can do extra things to increase, like you said, the synchronization. You can kill guards silently or whatever the objective is. The problem is that some of them are just really just annoying to do, and I feel they take you out of it. I do like the fact that, unlike the past games where if you failed an objective, you can start from the checkpoint as opposed to start from the beginning of the mission in the previous games, which drove me crazy. Now, there are a lot of side things in Assassin's Creed.
Way too many.
They've toned it down from previous games because
really?
Brotherhood, I couldn't take it anymore. Like buying stores, I just found it was way too much. They cleaned it up. There are still those fetch missions where you're looking for almanac pages hidden throughout. Feathers, they're kind of boring.
The whole hunting aspect really just shoot in. I did like once or twice. Yes, I set a trap, skinned the deer, which was really gross, but the cutscene to kill a wolf, which was repeated over and over, I had no interest in that. Whole base building aspect, that was kind of introduced into this. I never cared about it after because again, they seem to just put all the stuff in and I didn't really see value.
I should agree with you on that. For me, it's the hunting and the naval warfare. They're both really well done.
The naval warfare is really cool.
The hunting, you have all these really cool things you can do. You can use a snare to trap rabbits. You can put down bait.
Or you can run up to them if you can catch up and just hack them to death. I mean, like, why wait?
It's a cool mechanic. It's fun, but you don't really feel the need to do it. I honestly only killed animals if they happen to be my way and I had my hidden blade out and just, I really didn't take the time to hunt them down.
I think what Ubisoft should have done was maybe just drop that altogether. The naval portion is actually really cool. Basically manning an entire ship. You're controlling starboard and port. You have enemies on each side. You're firing your main cannons. You can fire your cannons, which you can aim and zoom in on. That was really cool. It's actually quite intense. The whole scenario, the environment, and how it gets you involved is really well done. It's probably one of the better options or available choices in AC3.
I feel like Ubisoft introduced these really cool game mechanics and then didn't really know what to do with them, so just gonna screw them in there after as side missions that you don't really want to do.
I actually played Assassin's Creed 3 on the Wii U as one of the launch titles. He played on the 360. The games essentially are the same visually. The big differentiator for the Wii U version obviously is the Wii U tablet. You have the full map on the actual Wii tablet. You can access all of your secondary items, your mini map and all that from the tablet. You will take some time to adjust from jumping from the top screen to your game tablet.
The only thing that really kind of bothers me is the elements that clunker up the free running, where you're trying to run up something and every once in a while you kind of get stuck or you do something you don't really want to do, and they kind of ruin that free-flowing, free-running experience that you get because it just stops you. I like the fact that the missions are not as repetitive as previous games.
There's still tons of of trail this person without being caught, assassinate this person, or deliver this for someone else.
But those are side quests, apart from the trailing someone, which is neh.
I don't understand why you have to pull up a menu that stops the game, and then you choose your weapons. Why isn't that an on-screen weapon wheel? That really slowed things down.
Yeah, there's a hotkey wheel that you can actually assign things to, and you can just switch on the fly. You don't necessarily need everything, so you're not going to be going into your menu all the time to switch weapons. You will on occasion. I really hate maintaining things in your menu system, like crafting things or sending off merchants to sell stuff, all done through the menu, or leveling up your assassins. You don't have to do these things.
Thank God.
So the gameplay is fantastic. Ubisoft has a lot of things going on. Some things are hits, some things are misses. There's a multiplayer component. We didn't really have time to play it, so maybe down the line we'll include it in a downtime or something. The game is a good looking game. The cutscenes are phenomenal. The voice acting is amazing.
For the most part.
The frontier, the environments are really lush. There's green everywhere. You have different environmental effects. It rains, it snows, sometimes it's night, sometimes it's day. One thing I really like about the game is the fact that there are animals running around just about everywhere. Something that's kind of introduced into this one. Even in the cities, you have rats running around, you have dogs, you have...
Yeah, you can pet dogs and cats, but does it artificially extend the game?
It doesn't, but it makes it more realistic. The NPCs, the non-necessary characters, still have pretty bland faces, but everyone that's important, the detail, the facial animations.
Yeah, in general, the motion capture, the facial animations, Ubisoft definitely is at the top of their game. AC3 is a pretty game, but my God, the frame rate, technical glitches, very annoying.
I think on the Xbox 360, the frame rate issues were actually much better. I think the Wii U, there were some issues that definitely plagued it. For a game that's supposed to be realistic in a sense, there are moments that really just throw you out of the game. Randomly, an NPC will pop in existence right in front of you, and you just be like, what the hell was that? The camera, every once in a while, will pan behind it.
It'll get stuck behind a tree. And unless you unlock from the camera and run, you lose that control. And sometimes there are some enemies that do give you a challenge. Some of the bigger brutes, they can punch you while you're countering, and oh, I didn't see it coming because Connor's behind the stupid fat tree. Every time I dismount a horse, seeing Connor's face phase through the horse's butt, it's hilarious, but things like that shouldn't happen.
I can actually forgive all these things because overall, I really liked the entire package.
One thing that AC3 did in spades that really bothered me was cutscene after cutscene. At the beginning of the game, there are segments where you'll have a cutscene, you will walk to the other side of the room, have another cutscene. It's like Metal Gear Solid syndrome.
It's not as bad. Normally, he's Mr. Oh my God, check out the OST for this. This time around, it was me. The main music is phenomenal. I've listened to it so many times.
So all in all, from what we said, I think it's pretty clear that I wasn't very happy with AC3. I think it's a missed opportunity. Cutscenes, a lot of the glitches, just the general pacing of the game and the story itself. I don't know, there's a huge build up to it. If you have the choice, I actually suggest you do get the Wii U version if you can find the system. The fact that you can play the game on the tablet away from the console was a godsend. I honestly think I'm done with Assassin's Creed.
Completely disagree on every single point. The story was more engaging, more emotional, you learned more. I love the backdrop. The American Revolution really provided a really relatable experience.
It was just forced in there, sorry.
The gameplay, the animations of the gameplay was more visceral. The free running looks phenomenal. The cutscenes, whatnot. The ending is fantastic. For me, Ubisoft, good stuff.
For me, Ubisoft, put it away. There you have it, folks. That was the GamerNerdz review of Assassin's Creed 3 for the Xbox 360 and Wii U. Sorry, PS3 owners, we're not going to play and review your game.
The PS3 version is on par with the Xbox 360. Beyond that, subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, you can like us on Twitter. We'll see you next time on The GamerNerdz.
I'll enjoy this, I will.